When should I use usetext_lazy? I have a question about using usetext and usetext_lazy for translations. I learned that in models I should use usetext_lazy, while in views usetext. But are there any other places, where I should use usetext_lazy too? What about form definitions? Are there any performance differences between them? Edit. And one more thing. Sometimes, instead of usetext_lazy, usetext_noop is used. As documentation says, usetext_noop strings are only marked for translation and translated at the latest possible moment before displaying them to the user, but I'm a little confused here. Isn't that similar to what usetext_lazy do? It's still hard for me to decide, which should I use in my models and forms?
Gettext versus gettext_lazy. In definitions like forms or models you should use gettext_lazy because the code of this definitions is only executed once, mostly on Django startup. Gettext_lazy translates the strings in a lazy fashion, which means, e.g. every time you access the name of an attribute on a model the string will be newly translated, which totally makes sense because you might be looking at this model in different languages since Django was started. In views and similar function calls you can use gettext without problems, because every time the view is called gettext will be newly executed, so you will always get the right translation fitting the request. Regarding gettext_noop. As Bryce pointed out in his answer, this function marks a string as extractable for translation but does return the untranslated string. This is useful for using the string in two places, translated and untranslated. See the following example. An excellent use of _noop is when you want to log a message in English for the developers, but present the translated string to a viewer. An example of this is at this URL.
The lazy version returns a proxy object instead of a string, and in some situation it would not work as expected. For example, would fail because very last line would try serialize LSD object into JSON, and instead of a string for client it would have a proxy object. The proxy object is not serializable into JSON.
Gettext can work inside functions but doesn't work outside functions. Gettext_lazy can work inside and outside functions. You better use gettext_lazy outside functions according to the examples of translation. This below is where gettext can work. This below is where gettext_lazy can work.
Monster Show, eat a certain